everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of See You Weekly. We have a lot of great things to talk about this week, so let's get started by meeting our roundtable for today. Guys, introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Lauren.
I'm Alexandria.
And I'm Natalie.
And I'm your host, Amelia McGavro. So U of I is seeing a little more green on Green Street today. It is unofficial, which means that policemen have their jobs cut out for them. But instead of talking about the obvious festivities going on, we are going to talk about if unofficial is really worth it. The weather is supposed to be a bit cold, the cops are on high alert, and a lot of outside students will be on campus. So I'm going to start off by asking our panel. Guys, what do you see, or what have you seen in these past years that have made unofficial unappealing?
I think the campus looks a lot more dirty than usual. Like, obviously every campus has its ups and downs, like with cleanliness, but like our campus just has so much garbage everywhere, especially because everyone's just like eating and throwing their trash. So I just think it looks a lot more dirty.
Yeah.
Honestly, I really don't know because, this is my sophomore year, so I only was here last year, so 1 year for unofficial, and I didn't go out because I work for housing, so basically, like, with housing, they're very, very strict, so
I heard they're even more strict this year.
Definitely,
Yeah.
because
You were
of all
telling
the
me about
restrictions.
even the nail polish?
Yeah, even green nail polish is can get you fired, which I was like, thank goodness for people with green eyes are letting us slide. Like, won't get, have to put in contacts or anything. But last year, I'm a sophomore too, so I walked around a little bit. I think it's just, to me, it's disrespectful to show up to class drunk. So that whole thing of it where you're day drinking and then going to class is I just find it very disrespectful to the people that are lecturing or leading discussions. So
I tell you, every year I've had one teacher that has a test on unofficial, just in spite of it. So, they know, and I think it is kind of disrespectful to show up. Just don't go to class if you're like that, right?
Pick one.
Yeah, definitely. I did have a midterm for unofficial, and I remember the whole class, it was a big lecture hall, and the whole class was wearing green, and you can smell the alcohol in the air, and it was an early morning class too, so it was very interesting to
Yeah,
witness.
interesting to say the least. Well, we hope you guys stay safe out there. In more campus news, there's hope for the Illinois men's basketball team. The team pulled out a win against Minnesota this past Sunday. During the game, top Urbana recruit DeMonte Williams committed to Illinois. So guys, do you think this will make any difference for next season? We've had a pretty rocky season, so will this recruit and many future recruits make a difference?
I think someone that is as looked at as highly as him will definitely make a change in the team because everyone's looking forward to this guy, and obviously everyone's pretty excited for him since they did have the rocky season. I think he'll really boost up next season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope it does. I feel like every year we say we got this person and now it's going to change. So I hope he really makes a difference. I know that when he tweeted it, there was a bit of a backlash because the Illini had won, so it kind of people were like, oh, now we're going to do better. But it's we did win, so we're trying. We're doing our best.
Oh, they were upset about it taken away from their actual win.
Exactly,
that
the
should have been
timing
the top
of it.
news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like one person is not going to bring them out of the trenches or anything like that. I feel like, of course, it could probably boost morale. If he's a inspiring person and stuff like that, he can kind of help out the team in that way. But I don't think just one person's talent is going to carry the whole team if that's what they're expecting. But
yeah,
that's right, Natalie. There's no I in team, right? Okay. Well, thanks. Well, the Oscars were this past Sunday, but people are still talking about it. And no, they're not talking about the fashion or even the winners, but the many political messages that were shared on stage. Of course, host Chris Rock literally rocked the stage by making jokes about the Oscars' So White controversy. And then Lady Gaga performed a tear-jerking song advocating for sexual assault. Also, our pal, Vice President Joe Biden, who made an appearance on our campus last year, spoke on stage about the It's On Us campaign. But the shocking appearance of Stacey Dash was enough to get people talking. At the beginning of the month, Dash said that there shouldn't be a Black History Month, yet she came to the Oscars saying, quote, "I cannot wait to help my people out. Happy Black History Month." And what's more, she said the controversy of the Oscars was the Oscars about being so white was lame. So, guys, what messages did you see at the Oscars that you agree and disagree with? I mean, it was kind of controversial, so you talk away about that.
I mean, I heard that this was like the lowest rating like Oscars ever, and I think that definitely the Stacey Dash incident like definitely played a large part in that, because I just thought that it was just really distasteful. Like, I understand that they were trying to like lighten the mood and like poke fun at this issue, but it really wasn't like the type of issue that you poke fun at, and then it wasn't like funny at all. Like, it's not a laughing matter. So I just thought that that was just really like out of pocket. Like, I think
Chris Rock overdid everything. Like, he made way too many like promoting like black people jokes and like all this stuff. There was like at one point, he, instead of saying like "and we're back," he said "and we're black," and like it was just like he was overdoing it at some point. So
trying way too hard.
Yeah.
It definitely did seem a little hokey. I personally thought Lady Gaga's song was incredible. They said that she got a standing ovation. There were many tears in the audience, and I just think that sexual assault on campus especially is such a huge issue, and it was really cool for it to be brought in light to the public and to really just have a platform like the Oscars and to use it to, you know, really just say like, hey, this is going on right now and we need to pay attention to it. So while he did definitely overdo it, but I was happy that at least people were talking.
Right. And it brought light to like those issues.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
needed to be in the limelight.
But do you think that Hollywood should take such a public stance on this? I mean, even at the halftime show at the Super Bowl, Beyonce made a big political statement. We talked about that a few episodes ago. So are these celebrities right to do this?
I think that, well, Chris Rock brought up a very, I think, important point where it's like, we are in Hollywood, which is, he was like, we're surrounded by like the nice white liberal people. And, you know, there's still not enough opportunity for people of color to make it big. And I was talking to my parents about it, and I was just like, the issue is not that, like, people aren't nominated. It's that the movies that are made to be Oscar winners, they don't have roles for colored people. Because if you're casting a white role, you know, how are you supposed to have someone to show up that's not white?
That's true.
I mean, like, kind of to answer your question of like whether or not it's Hollywood's place like to speak out on these issues, I think it is, because I feel like it garners the most attention, like people in Hollywood. So I think that it's right for them to speak about issues that are important to them. So if you're talking about like maybe the Beyonce thing, like you said, the halftime show before, like I think that was her prerogative. Like if she felt like this was a time to speak out about it, and if she has the right intentions, like we never know what her intentions are in terms of like being vocal about it right now. But I think that that's like her responsibility if that's what she feels strongly about. So I think that it's important to bring light to those issues.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you guys. Yeah, a lot of topics to really take a note of. So, interesting and very gross news that we're going to move on to. An Airbnb listing for a house in France was quickly taken down after renters made a grim discovery in the garden. It was a corpse. They found the body face down in the garden and covered by branches. So, guys, these services, these cell phone apps are causing a lot of incidents like this. And, you know, I instantly go back to the Uber driver that went crazy and started, you know, mass shooting in Michigan. So are these apps really safe? I mean, do these one types of incidents really determine if these apps are safe or not?
I just think it's really hard. I think the idea behind Airbnb and Uber is great, but along with it, like so for taxi drivers, they have to go and like get certified to be a taxi driver. There's no real certification for Uber drivers. For hotels, they have to meet certain standards to even be open, and for Airbnb, like that's not really there right now. And I think that with our society and the way we're going, I think the idea of it is very good, but there needs to be more regulation for sure. So things like this just don't happen anymore.
So that you don't like sacrifice safety for convenience.
Exactly.
I mean, gosh, I've never used Airbnb. I'm just really, I'm hesitant to go into somebody else's home. I don't care if they're good people or not. I don't care if I called them on the phone. I just don't know them. These are complete strangers that you're staying in their home. I mean, that's just, it's just weird to me. So I don't know how people can consider that a better alternative than, just pay for a motel. They at least got, certified to be open. I mean, I don't know. I mean, and do you know how much money these people spend to stay in these Airbnbs, or is it free?
It's like very, very cheap. I mean, it's basically, depending on where you stay, it's pretty dirt cheap, like in comparison to Uber. It's so cheap with like taxis. Airbnb is actually hotels' like biggest competitor right now, and Airbnb is like slowly chipping away at the hotel industry, and because it's so dirt cheap, so people will do it. And like, I know you said you'll never do it, but there are people out there that they don't care. They don't care whose house it is. It's cheap and I'm going to stay there. And that's just, they're making tons of money for Airbnb off of it.
That's true.
Still so risky. Like, even if you study abroad and you go to someone's house and like you go through that program, it seems so like sketchy. Like, you don't know who you're staying with.
Yeah, and now you're overseas.
Exactly.
So you really don't know who you're staying with.
Yeah.
And back to the Uber driver. Do you think Uber should have really made a stance? I mean, I remember they just apologized and said, he went through the background checks, what else can we do? But do you think they needed to do more? I mean, one of their employees went on a mass shooting spree. So what do you think should have happened?
I think, I don't know if we can put the blame on Uber, because everyone that has been someone that has instigated a mass shooting or, has been a shooter, like, they've been employed somewhere. So it's like, we don't ask their employers. It's just like, it just so happened that he was working for Uber at the time. And, he used that to go on the shooting spree, but, it's him alone. He's the one person. So I don't see how we could really ask a company to do more than say, we did what we could and,
Okay.
That's what I would say. I mean, what more could they say? Like, they made a public statement, and I feel like that's the most that you can do, and like apologize to the families and those that were affected by it directly. And
anyone's subject to change. Like, you don't know when they could just randomly strike and do something that crazy. So you never know.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, our privacy is still on the line with the ongoing case of the federal government unlocking an Apple iPhone. A New York federal judge ruled that Apple does not have to help unlock a phone that was part of a drug investigation. 2 weeks ago, California judge ordered Apple to write software to help unlock the San Bernardino shooter's phone. So there's an ongoing debate. It's raising national news, and there's two sides to it. Should we keep our personal privacy, or should we comply with national security? What do you think?
I think that when people say like, oh, we need this for national security, like, we should be bugging homes, we should be being able to get into people's phones, and it's like, okay, but then what? Then what's going to happen? So, all right, so now Apple has given away my rights for them to look at my stuff. Who else is looking at what I'm looking at? Because I think that with politics today, big companies are so intertwined with them. Like, who else is going to be looking at it? I don't know. So I think that it's good that we have our privacy, and I like my privacy. So
Yeah, also, there's hackers out there.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
if that's the precedent now, and now they have a route to get to any phone, I mean, that's power. That's very important power that can get in the wrong hands very, very quickly. What do you think?
I think it draws the line of privacy because, like, we all, like, not that we're hiding things in our phones, but it's just, like, the one thing that's, like, ours, and there's no reason for them to look into it just because they want to. I just think it's, like, really getting in your space.
Natalie?
Well, I think it's kind of a hairy situation because, like, when the government is asking a company to, like, I don't know, like, when it's kind of hard to, like, draw the line between, like, oh, I have a right to not, like, comply with the government, like, my government, like, when does it, like, where does the line draw between, like, I can do this and I have a right not to give you something, and then, like, I have a right as a citizen to, like, comply to you.
Let me ask you this. So this was a case of terrorism. They're trying to see if this was actual terrorism, ISIS-related thing, just not drug-related. So is that the line? Would terrorism really be a big enough issue of national security to do something as drastic as this. I mean, and they were also saying that the judge was saying, who ruled this case, that Apple didn't have to comply. He was saying, you know, if they change this, it will set the tone for many cases to come. So this is not going to just be a now thing. This is going to be impacting the future. So is it worth it? I don't know.
I don't think it's worth it. There's so many other ways to like figure out what you're searching for, and you don't have to like make everyone feel like they're always being watched, because like no one wants that. That's just weird.
Yeah, I feel like if you want to hack into a singular iPhone, there are so many other ways to figure it out and to hire people to do that for that one iPhone, instead of putting, you know, millions of people's privacy just out there and on the line.
Sure. Well, we shall see. Well, now we're going to move on to some sweet treats. They have invaded our pantries and ruined our spring break diets, but we just cannot resist and we keep eating them. Plus, it doesn't help that they are sold by adorable little girls. Yes, they are Girl Scout cookies. Yes, I got a box of Thin Mints with me right now. And so it was National Cookie Weekend this past weekend, and cookies are still on people's minds as they were brought up at the Oscars by Chris Rock, who pushed many stars to buy his daughter's cookies. Thanks for your support, Leo. I saw all these things on Facebook about him just looking at these box of cookies like this, right? So these cookies are basically irresistible. So I'm just going to end our last conversation with, what are your favorite Girl Scout cookies, girls?
Definitely the Thin Mints, but you have to put them in the freezer. Otherwise, they don't taste the same.
Yes, thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you, my girl.
I personally love the shortbreads. I don't even know if they're still selling them anymore, but
Oh, yeah,
back
they
when
are.
I
Yeah, they are.
Okay,
They're
I don't
a
know,
classic.
but
When I was a Girl Scout, they were called trefoils. I can never call them just shortbreads.
right, yeah. Well, they were my favorite for sure when I was younger and when I was selling them.
Yeah, I was also a Girl Scout, and I did have a major sweet tooth growing up, so I can't really pinpoint which one is my favorite. I've definitely had all of them, and I love all of them equally, I feel like, so. Okay. I can't say which one's my favorite. I mean, I was
That's
just
a very
a
neutral
little
answer.
chunky child, so definitely ate a lot of them, so.
Hey, that's
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. That's right. Okay, well, that is all that we have to talk about today. Thank you so much to our roundtable guests who came here. Remember to support your local Girl Scouts, get yourself a box of Girl Scout cookies, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our page to stay up to date with all of our Season 6 episodes. Be safe out there for Unofficial, and we will see you next week.